I'm at 182 Mary Robin Road in Troy, Ohio.
I'm doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for
Any structural issues, root intrusion, bellies, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The access is a clean out behind the washer back here. There's kind of a half a stack here. And we have that like 1 inch coming up for the laundry and stuff, and then copper, and then it's cast iron going through the floor. So I expect there to be cast iron under the floor here, and then probably clay once it gets out of the house. There was another stack over in the wall that has been replaced with PVC, and so this is the easiest access here behind the washer. And so I'm trying to get a decent angle here to be able to get into this, but it's really not easy to be able to get in here and get access to be able to see what's going on. So, cast iron is used a lot between like the 40s and 70s. Usually for residential like this, it was just inside the house under the slab, and then once it got outside they would switch to clay. Those were the pretty common materials. There's a little bit of toilet paper there. And cast iron is hard to judge because it does rust, obviously, and that's why it's always so ugly looking, is that it rusts, and you can never really tell life expectancy or lifespan of it. There's stuff that's been around since the 40s that look great, and there's stuff that was put in commercial stuff in the early 2000s that isn't very good. So it just kind of depends. Sometimes it can even depend on soil conditions. But this so far looks really good. You're looking for it to kind of hold shape. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of channeling in the bottom of it where the water's kind of eroded away a little bit of pipe, and then you also could have some buildup of mineral deposits and stuff like that, but this all looks really good. The bottom is a little flat, so you have some buildup of like mineral deposits, but that's better than the channeling. And it's all common to see this in this kind of line. So far the line looks really good. And then most likely there will be access to a clean out right before it exits the house. A lot of times they would put them in the floor. It's just a lot of times they've been covered over with carpet or flooring. In fact, trying to get a look at this. A lot of times you'll see it right after a turn like that. But I don't think that's it. It's usually right before it exits the house and right before it switches over to a different pipe material. But so far this cast iron looks really good. Like I said, none of it ever is pretty just because of the rust that you get, but this is some of the better looking cast iron I've seen. It's this age. I believe the house was built in the early 60s. And so what we're mainly looking for here is to make sure that there's no visible holes or damage to the line. And you can see here there was a little bit of channeling there, but nothing major. Looks like we're getting ready to change over into a different material. There we go. And it looks like we are actually going into concrete here. This is another common material. Back then they either had concrete or clay. But this may actually be lined. Based off what I'm seeing, I thought that by the color it was concrete. But we'll see. We'll be able to tell here at some of these joints. Normally, when you have it lined, you'll be able to see like writing on it from the where the liner is labeled, but this looks like this is older. I don't see really any exposed aggregate, so I think this has been lined maybe. And it just has kind of buildup on the sides. Huh. Now that looks like a rubber gasket. Let's see if we can rinse off a little bit there. I'm getting some stuff on the camera. A little bit of a belly here. You can see the flashes, but like that was just a little bit of a belly. See that spot right there, it's holding water. And so I'll try to move this stuff out of the way, whatever that is. It's probably a buildup of maybe mineral deposits. Just hoping somebody just ran the water. Hoping it doesn't come down this stack. So far it does not look like it is. Okay. So that was good. I had to pause there for a minute so that I could make sure that it wasn't going to come down and come out right next to me. Just need pushing the line down. Trying to get better situated here. This is a really tight spot. So, okay. So normally this would be I think this may just be concrete. Either way, the line's in good shape. A little bit of a belly. A little bit of toilet paper there, but we haven't really seen any solids. Pushing a little bit of toilet paper there, that's not water, there you go. Okay. I'm going to have to try to take a look at this. We may have a spot here where the clay, because that looks like clay. I'm going to have to go check to see where this is. So it kind of looks like there's a spot here that
since I'm pushing, there's a little bit of a buildup of stuff here. So I'm going to try to rinse this off. So I'm actually going to push it out to here. And I'm wondering if we're like in a manhole or something because of the opening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here. I'm at 100 feet, so I could be out in the manhole, and this could be like a bench. But I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to go locate exactly where this is, see if we can figure out what's going on here. Okay, so this is actually inside the manhole. The bench here, what it is there's a slight space in between. You can see the edge where they broke out the side of the pipe where it drops into the main. What you're seeing across from us is actually the lateral, or the pipe coming out of the house across the street that comes into that same manhole. And so this here is all a bench, or like you can see this actually from the open manhole. So this is all the responsibility of the city or the sewer department, and that's why it looks wide open as you're actually in a manhole. And then we go back into clay. So the good news is the line actually stops right here, and then it's all bench, and that's where that stuff was collected on the concrete and stuff. So the line looked really good. I didn't see any major issues. It's open and flowing. There's a little bit of little belly, or it actually, I don't even really know if it was a belly. It looked like there were some mineral deposits at one connection that was kind of holding, just causing it to hold a little bit of water, but it was maybe a half an inch of water. It wasn't anything to be concerned about. See toilet paper, broken down toilet paper is all this is. I believe this is just clay all the way out. It's just kind of discolored, and that's what kind of made it hard to distinguish at first. It's because this all seems, you can kind of see the reddish in it here, but look more tan. It could have just been the mixture of the clay. A lot of areas it's a lot more red than that. And so here's that spot I was talking about, right here, about 75 feet. You can see how it kind of comes over it, and it's right at that connection. And so it looks to me like it's mostly, usually what that is either what they used, like a mortar could have come through the connection there and caused a little hump, but I'm sure that's been there since the line was put in. But it's just causing it to hold just a little bit of water. Like I said, the camera lens is only about a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe, and it's still, it only flashed, covered that just a hair. So I want to try to make sure that we can get that lens cleared off. I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to run some water in this downstairs bathroom and see if we can kind of flush this out just a little bit. Okay, so you can see I'm just running some water through here to get a look at it. Make sure it's flowing. And so obviously I added a little bit of water to it, so now it is pushing up in front of the camera a little more. You can see the flashes. But we'll see right at that 75-foot mark. And that's all it's doing, is it's just coming up a little bit, that half an inch, to overtake that little hump, which is, like I said, most likely it's packing for that joint, or a little bit of mineral deposits from the water. It's not a big deal. But I think that was pretty much the only thing I really found there. So
Yeah. They want you to buy it.
I'm gonna go turn that water off because
What's that guy that's on the radio now that's like
throwing a bunch of stuff
"We'll give
around.
you free service
up to the point, and, you know, or that's all the service you have done on this unit. Eco, yeah. And that guy just seems like, that just seems shady.
I've heard that. I don't know that company.
Yeah.
So you can tell that was mainly hot water going through there, so that steam struck in a little bit. Kind of looked like snow in there. But see, you can see these joints, and it's probably rubber packed. And that's why you're seeing that little bit of black there. But the line looked great structurally. Just a little bit of mineral deposits at 75 feet, and then right around that 100-foot mark is that the bench of that manhole out there in the main, and that is not the homeowner's problem anyway. So if that ever does cause an issue in the future, that is the city's responsibility to fix any of that. So now we're back into the cast iron.
All right, well, I'll call pest control people that use it. Get a treatment schedule. We'd love to, young couple, brought us all together, so we want to make sure this goes through, so.
Yeah, and it seemed like a nice, really.
Oh, really, really nice. All right, well, thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, so we should be getting close to turns up. There we go. One more thing I want to mention about the cast iron is to never put any kind of wet wipes or anything other than toilet paper and natural materials down there. They're the cast iron can easily catch stuff like wet wipes and cause backups because they'll catch and then they don't break down like the toilet paper does under the water, and so they can cause issues in brand new pipe. But it's much worse in cast iron just due to the rust. But this all looks good for its age. Pipe is kept shape and everything looks good.
So Chris, did you
And
find
so
anything on
And so the whole line looks really good structurally. There was a little bit of mineral deposits at about 75 feet. And then obviously the bench is something that I will note on the report, but it is not the homeowner's responsibility to repair that if it ever becomes necessary. The cast iron looked good for its age. Didn't see any holes or anything, any structural issues with that either. It just looks ugly, and you're never really 100% sure of the lifespan of it, and so it's just something that you pay attention to if the line starts running slow or something. You might want to have it looked at again in the future, but it looks to me, based on the condition, you've got years to come before there's any issue with the cast iron. But they are known for catching materials, like I mentioned about the wet wipes, and so you want to avoid any weird things that might cause backups. But yeah, the line looked really good. Didn't see any major issues, and so that'll end the inspection at 182 Mary Robin Road in Troy, Ohio.